just gonna let Blake get across here. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the City Council regular meeting for Monday, January 22nd to order, and remind everyone that we recognize that Prince Albert is located within Treaty 6 territory, and it is the homeland of the Dakota and Métis. We extend our respect to all Indigenous people for their valuable past and present contributions, and recognize and respect the cultural diversity within the City of Prince Albert. With that, City Clerk will open with a prayer.
O God, let us each in our own way ask your wisdom and guidance in our deliberations. Help us to incorporate into all our decisions those values which will enable us to fulfill our mission, to act as responsible stewards, and to respect and value the cultural and spiritual tradition of all citizens of the City of Prince Albert. For this we pray. Amen.
Next, we have the approval of the agenda. Mayor Dion.
I'll move the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I need a seconder. Sorry. Yeah. Councillor Lennox.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Thank you. And it's carried. Next item is presentations and recognitions. We don't have none. And then number 5, declaration of conflict of interest. Councillor Lennox.
Thank you. I declare conflict of interest on item 11.9 as I am a board member of the Prince Albert Cooperative Childcare. I declare conflict of interest on items 11.19 and 11.20 as I am the subject of those two items.
Thank you very much. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll do a declaration of conflict of interest on 11.7 and 11.12, which I'm the board chair of the Housing Authority.
Thank you. Any others?
Deputy Mayor, if I could.
Go ahead, Councillor Head.
Thank you so much. Today I'll be declaring a confident. I'm going to err on the side of an abundance of caution today. So I have several items that I'm going to be declaring a conflict of interest in. So first one would be 11.3. I am recently a member of this club, and therefore I won't be participating in the vote. 11.5. I have members of family playing in this tournament, and as you all know, I'm a member of Lac La Ronge Indian Band. Therefore, I'm a member of Prince Albert Grand Council, and I'll be declaring a conflict on this one. 11.5 would be the other one. For the same reasons as I noted, I am a registered Indian in the Lac La Ronge Indian Band and a member of Prince Albert Grand Council, and I have family members directly involved in these tournaments.
Excuse me, can I just clarify, was that 11.5 and 11.6? Thank you very much.
Also, I have 11.12 is another item. That building, I have family members living in that building, those buildings, so I will not be participating in that vote. Also, 11.14 is another item I'd like to flag. Long service and retirement recognition policy. As we know, that is policy on behalf of the employees of the City of Prince Albert. 2 of those working groups are the CUPE groups, so I will not be participating in that item as well. Also, I'd like to disclose a conflict of interest on 11.19, the correspondence from Mike Henry item, the CUPE conflicts, as I'm a subject to that decision. Also, I'd like to disclose a declare a conflict on 11.20, for the same reasons that I noted of subject matter of those debates.
Thank you very much. Are there any others? A reminder to the councillors that there is paperwork to complete and hand in to the city clerk. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Next item, adoption of the minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Miller?
That the minutes of the council regular meeting held December 11th, 2023 be taken, read, and adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Solomon?
Deputy Mayor, I'll second those.
Thank you very much. I'll open the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head?
In favor.
Thank you. And the vote carries. Next item on the agenda is notice of proclamation. There are none. 8, public hearing. There are none. Number 9, delegations. There are none. Communications. There are none. Next item is the reports of administration and committees. We'll start with 11.1, 2025 Community Grant Program application to Saskatchewan Lotteries. Go ahead, Councillor Lennox-Up.
I move that the city submit an application form for funds through the Saskatchewan Lotteries Community Grant Program for Sports, Culture and Recreation, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the 2025 application form and any other required documentation on behalf of the city.
Thank you,
I'd like
Councillor.
I'd like to second that, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Head will second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head?
In favor.
Thank
Deputy
you.
Mayor. Thank you.
The vote is closed and it carries. Next item is 11.2, naming rights and sponsorship policy. What is the wish of council? Mayor Dion.
I move the amended naming rights and sponsorship policy be approved.
Thank you. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I second that.
Thank you. Councillor Lennox-Up.
I support this motion. I would like to read one portion of the changes that are contained in this motion. So this body, this council, voted at a previous meeting to have administration consider gender diversity and diversity at large in our naming rights and sponsorship policy for things when we name a park or when we name a street. And so that has been reflected in this policy where it was not reflected previously. I'm going to read the sentence here in the policy. It's 7.01 sub C, that consideration will be given to enable diversity and gender equity where applicable. So it's not the strongest of language. It says where applicable. However, I support that this is better. This is an improvement to what we had previously, which was no indication to diversity or gender equity. So it's moving up and an improvement. I would note that other cities do have stronger language than this. However, I support this motion, and that doesn't mean we can't improve even further in the future.
Thank you. Any others? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
In favor, Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And the vote carries. Next item on the agenda, 11.3, the Prince Albert, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Thank you. The clerk has just informed me that Councillor Head had declared a conflict, and he is now removed from the team meetings. 11.3, the Prince Albert Golf and Curling Club Trust Fund, dumbwaiter repair and service. What is council's wish? Councillor Cody.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that $15,207 be approved from the Prince Albert Golf and Curling Club Trust Fund in support of the dumbwaiter supply and installation. And just one correction there, really the Golf and Curling Club Trust Fund, it's not the Golf and Curling Club, it's the Golf and Curling Center.
Thank you for the correction. Any other discussion? Mayor Dion, sorry.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, thank you very much. Any discussion? Not seeing any discussion, I'll open the vote. Sorry, the vote is now open. And the vote carries. Thank you, everyone. The next agenda item is 11.4, Destination Marketing Levy Grant Funding Policy Changes. Has Councillor Head joined us? Thank you very much. What's council's wish? Councillor Solomon.
I'll move that the amended destination marketing levy policy be approved.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Just a question, Deputy Mayor, if I can.
Just 1 second. I do have Councillor Edwards, and then I will put you in the queue. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just have a quick question as part of the report. So if it's a late event, let's say someone gets awarded a provincial soccer tournament and it's 4 weeks prior because no one's able to host this in the province, can we still work with groups? Because this seems to limit it a little bit.
Go ahead, Director. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Edwards. Yes, absolutely. The intent of the policy is to attract events. We're amending the agreement to allow that 6-week buffer period to apply, but it is well within the DMF committee's purview to be able to consider those special circumstances, and we certainly would not turn those events away.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I see the change. I read the report, and I agree with all the changes A, B, C, and D as listed here. I guess I have a question about D. By increasing that lower portion amount from 0 to 20, would that not limit some of the ability to for organizations to host events? I guess I would say. So just a little bit of clarification needed on the proposed approach rationale on D. Currently, are groups who have zero amount of rooms, I guess, predicted, do they still get this $1,500? And I guess, what is the change going to reflect?
Your question is directed to the Director. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Head, for the question. While I don't want to speak on behalf of the committee, the recommended change is what we feel reflects the original intent of the policy, which is heads and beds, more people in our hotel rooms. So we wanted to set that minimum of 20 people. I don't believe we have a necessarily huge influx of those activities or those events under 20. I think 20 is typically the minimum, so we simply wanted to reflect that in the amended policy.
So the current minimum reflects 0, I guess. Has any grants been provided to organizations? Because I guess my thoughts are looking at the approach. It's growing existing events, attracting new events to Prince Albert, and supporting repairs, of course, and upgrades of a capital nature. But one of the objectives is to attract events to the city of Prince Albert, I guess. Would this not go against the that policy, I guess, bringing it up to 20? Is it not open for people who are organizing without, one bed, I guess, 1 hotel room, 5 hotel rooms, 19?
Mayor Dion, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I'll get up as the chair of the Destination Parking Fund on 2 changes. First, I'll respond to Councillor Edwards. We've always done that. And the last one we did, if you remember, the baseball tournament that was held at Crescent Acres got out because of the fires in BC, and 2 weeks later they were held in PA, and we funded that project. Yes. Now, why we moved it up to 20 is strictly the whole project idea of this is heads and beds. We've only had 2 applications under the 20, but one was for 3. Well, $1,500 that you get will pay for 10, 12 rooms. So that's why we did it. The hotelers made it quite clear to us this policy is for heads and beds, and we've only had 2 over the years. And one was for 3, and that just didn't make sense because it sounded more like a local meeting than an event. And we want to encourage everyone to, and we think being at 20 is not unreasonable.
Thank you. Was there anything further, Councillor Head? Any clarification?
No, no, I guess that's thanks for that clarification. I guess I would like to see a little bit less of a number, but here we are landing at this motion. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Councillor Head. Councillor Edwards.
Yep, thank you. Just for clarification purposes, did we change the number of 40% upon signing? Was that changed, or are we the same as what we've always been there?
Go ahead, Director.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Edwards, for the question. Yes, the 40% prior to the event and the 60% follow-up remains. What we were finding is that we were having some organizations that would prefer just to get the lump sum once the event is complete. And so that 100% once the event is complete is what is being added to the policy as a request from organizations. And it's simply to streamline the process. And, quite frankly, it works quite well for the Destination Marketing Committee as well, as there's much less paperwork and process that needs to be followed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll open the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
Opposed.
Thank you. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 11.5. Councillor Head has declared a conflict. The Destination Marketing Fund Grant Application Form, the Prince Albert Grand Council Men's Recreation Hockey Tournament. What is Council's wishes? Councillor Edwards.
Thanks. Deputy Mayor, I will move that the new event Destination Marketing Fund Grant application from Prince Albert Grand Council Sport, Culture and Recreation for funding the Prince Albert Grand Council Men's Recreation Hockey Tournament scheduled for January 12th to January 14th, 2024 in the amount of $30,000 be approved. 2, that $30,000 be funded from the Destination Marketing Levy Reserve, and 3, the Mayor and City Clerk be authorized to execute the funding agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Councillor Solomon.
Deputy Mayor, I'll second that motion, please.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll open the vote. The vote is now open. And the vote carries. The next item on the agenda is Destination Marketing Fund Grant Application Form 2024 Senators Cup Full Contact Hockey Tournament. And a reminder, Councillor Head has declared conflict. Councillor Edwards.
I'll move that the event retention destination marketing fund grant application from the Prince Albert Grand Council Sports and Recreation for funding the 2024 Senators Cup Full Contact Hockey Tournament scheduled for March 14th to March 17th, 2024 in the amount of $30,000 be approved.
Thank you.
2, that $30,000 be funded from the destination marketing levy reserve. And 3, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the funding agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you very much. Councillor Miller.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mayor Dion.
Well, I'll just explain a little. This is one of the events that the Grand Council puts on that actually sells out our city, that and the powwow. And as a destination marketing fund, we do appreciate them because they continue to bring it here, and it's partly because of the fund, because there's heavy pressure to bring it in to Saskatoon because it's such a professional run event, and they have it's a high-end hockey. They have lots of ex-hockey players that play on that, and lots that have been out of playoffs, and it's a great draw for our community. So I'd just like to share that. This is one of the biggest events that brings people in to our city yearly.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll open the vote. The vote is now open. And the vote carries. Thank you. The next item is 11.7. Yeah. Thank you very much. And is he on? Councillor Head, thank you. Welcome back, Councillor Head. The next item is 11.7, 2022 Settlement Municipal Share Housing Projects. What is council's wish?
I'll move this motion, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Head. I require a seconder for us to continue. Go ahead, Mayor.
I'll second it, that the 2022 settlement municipal share.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get Councillor Head. That's my fault. I'll get Councillor Head who.
Okay, you're going to
who
get
moved
into it. Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Councillor Head. I didn't get you to read out the motion. Are you able to?
Fair enough.
Thank you.
I am. So I'm going to move that the 2022 settlement municipal share for housing projects of the Prince Albert Housing Authority and a total amount of $67,391.15 be funded in the year of 2023 from the Housing Reserve.
Thank you. And seconded by the mayor. Okay, any discussion? Go ahead, Mayor Dion.
Just to explain what this is, there's been some changes with the Housing Authority. We now have the right to have a member. We did not ever before. So Charlene Miller, that's why she's declared herself the conflict of interest, because she now sits on that board with us. And the government of Saskatchewan, myself, are responsible to get applications for that board. And one thing that we have done is, and we thanked all the members that they are, quite a few of the members have been there over 20 years, that we now have a new board in place, and we're really excited because these are one of the things they're going to look at is should they really be placed in windows if they don't need to be replaced. You know, just because they say time, you know, they're 5 years old, time to replace them. I always argue that point. If they're still functional, we shouldn't be doing that. So we're looking forward to a change in the amount that we have to pay in the future.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Lennox Zell.
I oppose this motion on the basis of the, of where the $67,000 is proposed to be coming from. The proposal is that this, these monies come out of our housing reserve. And every year that I've been on council leading up until last year, this municipal share was taken out of general fund, and we were not suggesting out of reserve. And the difference there is that our housing reserve is actually used for our affordable housing projects. So for example, Riverbank and also community housing, under our policy, they make application usually every year to us through our own policy, requesting if they can receive grant funds for building new affordable housing units in our city. And if we deplete the housing reserve in this way, using it for uses that we haven't usually wanted to use housing reserve for, then we really run the risk of not having those monies available for affordable housing projects. And this is the only fund that we do fund housing through. As well, our city policy, the housing reserve policy, states that we will input $42,000 each budget year, and we have not done that for the past 3 years. We have, as council, we debated that issue at budget, and we decided not to top up the housing reserve due to fiscal constraints. And so we're depleting it in two ways. We're taking it out for the municipal share, and we're not putting it in at budget time, and that's a concern. And I know other members of council have raised the topic that housing reserve is in a healthy state. It's over $100,000 at its balance now. But it's about long-term planning, that if we continue to make a habit out of spending out of the reserve and not putting money into that reserve, that's critical. That we talk in this council chamber a lot about housing, homelessness, getting people through the housing spectrum, and this reserve, those last two words in this motion, are critical for that. And so I strongly oppose this motion, based only on where the funds are proposed to be taken from.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cody.
Yes, thank you very much. In all due respect, that is where the money should come from, is from the housing reserve, because that reserve is there for nonprofit housing. And this is nonprofit housing. So I have to disagree with you there. Not often that I do, but I do this time. But my question is, a couple of meetings ago, in fact, I think it was in November, I asked if we could get a meeting with the Housing Authority, because I think it's necessary for us to have a little look at this stuff. You know, I can tell you right now, we are spending money on some of those places that are absolutely not necessary. Other ones, they aren't spending any money on. I know that there's 8 units here a while ago were shut down in one of the high rises because of mold. You should never have that happen in housing that's owned by us, the Government of Canada, or the Government of Canada, Government of Saskatchewan, the Government of Prince Albert. That's who owns these houses, and we should not let them go to that kind of disrepair. Another thing that bothers me in the whole issue here is that we're looking for housing for homeless people all the time. You know, we're always talking about we should build more housing for homeless people. I agree we need more housing for homeless people, but we've got tons of housing here that's not capable of holding, that's not available to them because they're in disrepair. They're in fact probably not inhabitable. So why would we not ask the Housing Authority to come before us, have a little look at this situation? If we can help in any way, get the provincial government and or the federal government to help us out, I think that's exactly what we should be doing. So I would beg of the city manager or whomever is the person that we should talk to here, ask them if we could have that meeting as quick as possible so that we can kind of get this underway.
Thank you, Councillor Cody. Mayor Dion.
Yes, he has accepted. I did write him when we brought it up, and we're just confirming the date. He has accepted. We had to give him some information because we wanted to come to answer some of our questions, but he is more than pleased to come, and it's pretty soon at one of the upcoming meetings. It's very shortly.
Thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor Head.
Thank you so much. I can't agree more with Councillor Cody and some of the comments he has. I mean, we do have a lot of homes within our community that need to be addressed and more inhabitable, I would say, because our closer review on what those properties look like and what can be done moving forward. So I'm really excited to hear from the mayor that we do have a meeting scheduled, and we will see those meetings in our schedule and invites. But it also kind of makes me think, because the federal government was announced here as well, this rapid housing initiative that they mentioned, and we talked about it at the last FCM conference as well. Where is the administration on that application? And it may be not appropriate for this discussion, Deputy Mayor, but also maybe more of a topic of agenda item for that meeting with the Housing Authority. So, thank you.
Thank you. I think that we should put that on the agenda for the Housing Authority. It is not directly impacted on the topic at hand. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Head. Mayor Dion.
We were going to put that on the agenda, but it doesn't fall under his category. Unfortunately, it's a federal housing program. But we do have an announcement coming that we have finally gotten approval from that rapid housing. And I'm well involved with that with Riverbank because we want to get as much as we can. Whenever we can get federal funding to help with the problem that we want, we're all in.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll open up the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head?
In favor, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And the vote carries. Next item is 11.8, the donation policy and procedure. What is the wish of council? Go ahead, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will move that the amended donation policy and procedure be approved.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I need a seconder, please. Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will second that motion, please.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
In favor.
Thank you. I think I am missing one vote. Check your votes. Thank you very much, and it carries.
I'm recusing myself on 11.9.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lennox-Zapp. Okay, the next item, 11.9. Councillor Lennox-Zapp has recused herself. It's the tax exemption agreement for the daycare properties. What is council's wish? Go ahead, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will move that a tax exemption agreement between the city and the following 5 daycare properties for a 5-year term from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2028 be approved. A, 139 8th Street East, Family Futures Incorporated. B, 196 9th Street East, Family Future Incorporated. C, 199 6th Street East, Prince Albert Child Care Cooperative Association. D, 2805 First Ave West, South Hill Child Care Cooperative Association Limited. And E, 202 10th Street East, Prince Albert Aboriginal Head Start Program. 2, that the municipal taxes and levies be exempt, excluding local improvement levies, to the following extent. A full exemption provided that the Saskatchewan Ministry of Government Relations and as required, the affected school divisions provide consent pursuant to Section 263(3) of the Cities Act, or B, where consent is not provided per Section 263(2), a partial exemption to the extent that each affected taxpayer shall pay taxes equivalent to the city's financial obligations to pay non-consenting affected taxing authorities pursuant to Section 263(2) of the Cities Act. And 3, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Miller.
I'll second the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Not seeing any, I'll open the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
In favor, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And the vote carries. Next item on the agenda, 11.10, request for tax relief, the Prince Albert Share a Meal Food Bank Incorporated and the Prince Albert Habitat for Humanity, Saskatchewan. Councillor Lennox Zapp.
I move the tax exemption agreement between the city, Prince Albert Habitat for Humanity Saskatchewan, and the Prince Albert Share a Meal Food Bank, Inc. for the 5-year term from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2028 be approved, that the municipal taxes and levies be exempt, excluding local improvement levies, to the following extent. A full exemption, provided that the Saskatchewan Ministry of Government Relations and as required the affected school divisions provide consent pursuant to Section 263 of the Cities Act, or where consent is not provided per Section 263, a partial exemption to the extent that each affected taxpayer shall pay taxes equivalent to the city's financial obligation to pay non-consenting affected taxing authorities pursuant to Section 263 of the Cities Act, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreements on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Councillor. We need a seconder. Councillor Solomon.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll open the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
In favor, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much. And the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is 11.11, Pound Keeping Agreement, the Prince Albert Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Incorporated. What is council's wish? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll so move that the pound keeping agreement between the city and the Prince Albert Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Inc., appointing the Prince Albert SPCA as the pound keeper for the city, be approved for a 5-year term effective January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2028. 2, that the pound keeping agreement state that the city shall pay to the Prince Albert SPCA the amount of a fee for service as approved through the city's yearly budget process for providing the services as the pound keeper within the confines of the city. And 3, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other applicable documents on behalf of the city.
Thank you.
I'll second
Mayor
that.
Dion, thank you very much. Any discussion? Not seeing any, we'll move to a vote.
Deputy Mayor, if
Oh,
I can.
sorry. Just 1 second.
Sorry, no.
No worries. Go ahead, Councillor Head.
Just, I agree with the motion. I have a couple questions about processes. So in the report, it says that the SPCA shall accept animals into the shelter from the city's bylaw enforcement department 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, because I get questions from public about what do we do when we hear outside of regular hours. So I also see in the report that there's Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then there's a voicemail that is checked on weekends from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Just again, a reminder to the public about, accessing that line. And again, are we providing that service? Because who do we call in those cases? I believe there's a number after hours that we recall, but it also talks about the bylaw enforcement. So just a question on that one.
Thank you. A question to the director. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Head, for the question. So yeah, you are correct. So the pound keeping agreement stipulates that the shelter shall be open from 11 till 5 a.m. And it is to be staffed during those hours. However, our city bylaw unit does have access to the building if necessary, and that access is 24 hours a day. However, as you alluded to, we don't have staff 24 hours a day. So in saying that, our animal servicing agreement, which is separate, which you've spoken to, does have an after hours phone line that initiates, that is checked by the SPCA twice a day. Now, it's my understanding that the public has had concerns of the response. We have followed up with SPCA, and we continue to do so to assure our residents that that answering service is being provided, and we certainly commit to doing that. However, I would caution that if it is an immediate concern, if there's a hazard or life danger or something like that, an attack, that the public does contact city police. And in some cases, if it's just a stray cat that might need a home or something like that, bylaw enforcement might be accepting those the earliest of the next day. So there are some options there, and all of those numbers are available on the city website, www.citypa.com.
Thank you, Director.
One clarification, Director. I think you may have said 11 a.m. to 5 a.m. What
Thank
are the
you.
hours?
5 p.m. Sorry.
5 p.m.
Yes, thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
And thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Head. Any other questions? We're going to open the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
In favor, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And vote carries. The next item on the agenda is 11.12, assignment of rental construction incentive program agreement, 2951 and 2999. Reminder that Councillor Head and Councillor Miller have both declared a conflict and have left. Councillor Head is not on Teams. Okay, what is council's wish? Councillor Solomon.
I'll move that the rental constructive incentive program agreements between the city and Murray and Michelle Ketzmerich for the multi-unit dwellings located at 2551 and 2999 5A Avenue East be assigned to a new property owner once the property sale has been finalized, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute any necessary documents on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Edwards.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Mayor Dion.
Yeah, I have some questions of the department and maybe our legal. This was a 15-year agreement, and the original owner received the money. And now it's been sold to a second owner. And my concern is when you buy rental properties, sometimes you buy them because you see the opportunity to fix them up a little and raise the rent. So I'd like to know is in this agreement, because we haven't seen the sales agreement, is it guaranteed that the rent's going to stay the same for the next 5 years? And the other thing I also question is in my past life when we did all these agreements, and we did tons of them, we never let the original mover off the hook till the 15 years was over because they were the original movers. And so in this case, we would have them on because they received the $80,000, not the purchaser. They already have the money. And now we're at the last 5 years, and the only reason that we do it is to prevent legal action. Because if they raise the rent, break the agreement, then we have to go after them, and they didn't get the money, it was the first party. So those are just my two concerns, that number one, do we have a guarantee in the sales agreement that the rent, because we gave the money because it was affordable housing? And also, are we going to keep the original person that got the $80,000 responsible for the next 5 years?
And your question is to the director? Yes. Thank you very much. Director, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mayor, for the question. A couple things. So the rental construction incentive, the intent behind that program dating back to 2011 was to create rental units. That was initiated by the province of Saskatchewan, and as a result, we created upwards of about 3,000 units throughout the province. However, with that program, the province did not, so they set the criteria, they did not set a market rate. The affordable homeownership program under the same suite of programs did, where you could not charge any more than 80% of the market rate. And the city's affordable housing program does the same thing. However, the rental construction incentive program, again developed by the province, does not set a minimum or a maximum rent. So that concern is not stipulated within the agreement. It is simply to be transferred to the new owner. If, however, they start selling the properties, they are required to pay back the city, and the agreement does have a breakdown of what those costs would be. So year 12, which is where we are at right now, they'd be required to pay the city back about 25% of those funds.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing any, I will open the vote. The vote is now open. And the vote carries. Thank you. Councilor Heads is back. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is 1113, tax title tender results, 1 Adirondack, Gate. What is council's wish? Mayor Dion.
I move that the two bids made for tender 46 of 2023 for the purchase of tax title property located at 1 Adirondack Point be denied, and that the administration lists the property for sale on the open market.
Thank you, Mayor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Edwards.
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
In favor, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And the vote carries. Next item on the agenda, and Councillor Head has declared a conflict. Okay, next item is long service and retirement recognition policy. What is council's wish? Go ahead, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will move that the long service and retirement recognition policy be approved.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Miller.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll second.
Thank you very much. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I do support this motion and just want to say it's so important to show the appreciation to workers that have stuck with the corporation, retiring, and just say, our thank you to the workers, the hard workers of the city. And just it's a small token to show the appreciation. I'm glad that we've made some changes to the program. I think they're positive changes, and I appreciate the effort on this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to move to the vote. The vote is now open. And the vote carries. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to agenda item 1115. Twilight Motel Incorporated Utility Servicing Agreement 2024 to 2028, city services to businesses outside the city boundaries. Councillor Cody.
Yes, Deputy Minister, Minister, just got a promotion. Just got a promotion. See how quickly promotions can go? Deputy Mayor, I move that the terms, rates, and 5-year term of the utility servicing agreement for the provision of water and sewer services to the Twilight Hotel, Inc., outside municipal boundaries for the period 2024 to 2028 be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Councillor Cody. Is there a
I'll
seconder?
second.
Thank you,
I'll second that, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Head. Any discussion? Mayor Dion.
Just for the general public, these kind of contracts that we enter into is a big benefit for our water treatment plant. Our water treatment plant is capable of producing a lot more water than it is. So when we get an opportunity, and it actually becomes a profit center for us. And so when we do these agreements, they pay quite a bit more than the residents do. So it's sort of like subsidizing the opposite way to the city. So I do appreciate these agreements, and I'd like to thank everyone involved for getting this agreement done.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will open the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Thank you. And the vote carries. Next item on the agenda, 1116, the 2023 City Council and Executive Committee Record of Attendance. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That the report be received as information and filed, and there's quite a few, Mayor Dion, that have excellent attendance, and I'd like to congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Is there a seconder? Councillor Cody. Thank you very much, Councillor Cody. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's move to the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Thank you. The vote carries. Next item on the agenda is 2024 Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association Convention Resolutions. What is the wish of council? Councillor Cody.
Yes, Madam. I move that the following resolutions be forwarded to the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association Resolutions Committee for consideration at the 2024 convention being held April 14th to the 17th, 2024. 1, increased financial support for fire services. 2, increased insurance deductible for stolen vehicles. And 3, funding for Saskatchewan urban parks.
Thank you, Councillor Cody. Mayor Dion.
I'll second that, and I would like to speak on it.
Go ahead.
It was interesting that this on the agenda now. I think all three of them are very well. But on the news today, the federal government has announced that they're putting a committee together to deal with that stolen cars has now become a national issue across our country. So hopefully, you know, some of all these exchanges of ideas will come up with an idea on how to bring down the thefts, because they are dangerous, because they're probably the start of high-speed spaces, which we don't do because they're just too dangerous. So anything to help us with this problem is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other discussion?
Deputy Mayor, if I can.
Right, you're in the queue, following Councillor Edwards. Go ahead, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I know there should be some clarification on number 2. There is some public concern on number 2 about the stolen vehicles. Significant public concern that we're punishing the victims. And that's certainly a concern of mine as well. But the details of the motion talks about leaving keys in the vehicle and the vehicle unlocked and unattended. And I don't know whether that's been very clear to the public, that the reason that this is being considered is because when those vehicles are stolen, it puts the public at risk, because unfortunately we have people that don't appreciate the law and they flee from the police when we're trying to pull them over. And when you're going 100 or 200 kilometers an hour in a 40 zone or in a school zone, it becomes very dangerous. And I know we have a policy that we don't pursue in the city anymore, but they still flee as soon as the lights come on, and they don't stop until they're in a location that they can hide. And that, it's unfortunate. We have, I don't know how to call the criminals, but they don't appreciate the law when it comes to this. And so it's preventable. And I remember a motion come forward when I first started on council, was about raising or maybe having a fee, a bylaw saying that if you left the keys in your car and we could prove it, you're now going to get a fine for $500. And I thought at the time, and I didn't support it, that's crazy. We're punishing the victim. And I had some people reach out to me about this, and the statistics show that so many vehicles are being stolen with the keys in it, and the public are in danger after that occurrence. And it's unfortunate. I mean, we should be able to leave our keys in our car and hope that people are trustworthy in our community or in this world, quite frankly, but that's not the facts today. There's a lot of people looking for the opportunity to steal whatever the heck they can. Do I agree? It's, you know, if it's an opportunity they can steal it, it's theirs too. No, I don't agree with that at all. I think that we should also go after the government to punish the people more when they do steal the vehicle and they are caught for doing that. And I do think that we should look at a resolution at that as well, because often these days the punishment isn't fitting the crime, and that's unfortunate. And but with the current resolution, I do support, because you see it, the stolen vehicles flying through the school zones, and all it takes is the police to flash their lights one time. No, they might not be pursuing, and they're gone, and that's unfortunate. And that's why I do support the motion. I have had calls, lots of them, tried to explain this. Most agree now after the explanation. But I don't think it's extremely clear to the public why this is in there. So thought I would just make some words on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I want to say I do agree with the motion, particularly the funding for Saskatchewan urban parks. As you know, the report reads that the funding was cut in 2016, and so having this back implemented would benefit us greatly here in Prince Albert. Looking at some of the changes we've already seen this year has been very positive through the partnerships we've built, and definitely see those additions. As you know, we have the largest urban park in the country, and so having this funding implemented back by this government would be very helpful to ensure the residents of Prince Albert benefit from it. So really looking forward to that debate on the floor of SUMA Convention. But I want to make a point of saying as well that these three resolutions doesn't negate, and I think we've had conversations about it, some of the other priorities of councils throughout the province, and particularly here in Prince Albert when we talk about homelessness and addictions and some of the struggles we see here in Prince Albert. Those were raised, I know, in the last around mental health issues as well, last SUMA Convention, and my understanding is those haven't just disappeared. Those will still be pressed by this advocating body, and so looking forward to this convention and or these resolutions coming to the floor of convention. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Head, for the timely information as well. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Thank you. And the vote carries. Next item on the agenda, 11:18, action items from City Council and Executive Committee. What is Council's wish? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That the action items be updated and indicated in the open items document.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this item? Mayor Dion,
I'll second the item.
thank you very much. Any discussion?
Question, Deputy Mayor?
Go ahead, Councillor Head.
Thank you. I agree with the report and with the information listed in here as well. I guess I just have a question about process. Kind of unique in this circumstances. So I'm looking at the report and I want to flag CS3, more specifically FS1 as well. Just listing the names of the councillors that have indicated those motions. I mean, I look at all the other motions that are in that document. They all come from this chamber, and I'm wondering why it's indicated as such, I guess.
Is your question to the city clerk?
Sure.
Go ahead, city clerk.
The motions would be reflected with a name when it's the particular motion creating and making that motion. So it's not an administrative report that had come forward. It was a motion brought forward by the councillor. So that's why the name is on there for a CS3 motion, Councillor Lenexep. That one is because Councillor Lenexep brought up that motion on her own, not with an administrative report. So that's why it's not on every motion.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I do need, oh, sorry, we did do this. Sorry. Did we vote? No. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I lost track. I'll open the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Thank you. We're short one vote. Please check your votes. Thank you very much. The vote carries.
Deputy Mayor, I'm recusing myself on the next two items.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lenexep. Councillor Head as well. Okay, next item on the agenda, 1119, correspondence from Mike Henry, re-Councillor QP conflicts. What is council's wish? Councillor Cody.
Yes, I will move that the city solicitor be directed to respond to the correspondence of Mike Henry dated October 26th, 2023, incorporating summarized information that is relevant to Mr. Henry's inquiries drawn from the privileged and confidential legal reporting provided by the independent law firm of Brownlee LLP.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Go ahead, Mayor.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First of all, called you Deputy Warden. I'm not sure what this motion means. So we're gonna provide Mike Henry confidential information. I don't think that that's what it means. But it kind of looks like it that way. Drawn from the privileged and confidential legal reporting provided by the independent law firm. So,
Oh, just 1 second. We are not discussing it. Did you have a
yeah.
question to
No,
someone?
that is my question. What
To
does
our
it
city
mean?
solicitor?
So the Brownlee letter, is it fully in the public?
So,
I'll
Is it
direct
to
that
our-
to the city solicitor.
thank you very
yes.
much. City Solicitor.
Yes, thank you, Councillor, for the question. Deputy Mayor, the answer to the question is that the reference to the privileged and confidential legal reporting is how it came in to Executive Committee. There is information in that report that will answer the questions that Mr. Henry put forward. In order to draw that information and to declare the source from which it came, it puts the whole legal report into public domain.
And that letter specifies, the legal letter specifies what? In summary.
There's 6 bullet points that I think were relevant on page 2 of the report. It indicated that those city council members with direct employment or spousal employment relationships with CUPE unions in the city's workplace would be in a conflict of interest in circumstances where administration is bringing forward matters involving information, motions, discussion, deliberation, debate, and or voting on collective bargaining negotiations. It further indicated that councillors with those spousal and employment relationships with CUPE unions in the city's workplace should not be abdicating positions over and above their duties owed to the interests of the municipality and its residents in favor of CUPE positions. And it also indicated that those same members of council with those relationships with CUPE unions are legally required to declare conflicts of interest with respect to collective bargaining matters coming before council, and that where those conflicts are not declared and there's participation in those types of matters, that it contravenes sections 117, 117.1, and 117.2 of the Cities Act, and that can lead to disqualification of the councillors from council. It can lead to the requirement that the councillors resign immediately, and it can indicate that, or have the implication that the councillors would be disqualified from holding office in any municipality, elected office, for 12 years. So those are the findings that are relevant to that position, or to those questions of Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry also asked what was council's obligation in the face where those declarations were not made.
Right.
And so those have been outlined for you in another report coming up in another agenda
In the next item?
Yes.
Of what council roles are?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we could talk about that then. So basically, you're gonna provide him, Mr. Henry, the information that we received from the independent law firm that they are, or Councillor Lennox Zapp, or anybody that, for all of those reasons, are in a conflict of interest. And so, can you remind me why we requested that independent law firm to create a report for us?
Thank you, Councillor. Through Deputy Mayor, I believe the reason that you, at least the motivation for that, was that Mr. Henry wrote a letter to council and asked for these questions and asked what council's obligations were and what their options were. The report also indicated that the councillor's options would be to either declare the office vacant by motion or resolution of council, or to apply to the court to ask the court to determine what is the significance or implication of the councillor's conduct.
Yeah, but the main reason to get that legal advice was because there was some questions on whether councillors were in a conflict of interest, right? That was the motivating factor.
That's correct,
behind
with
it.
respect to collective bargaining specifically, yes.
Right, okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Cody.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear as to why I made the motion. It isn't that I necessarily agree with all of the points in Brownlee's letter, or in their opinion. That isn't what I meant. What I'm doing here as a councillor, I have an obligation to answer to people who are out there asking questions. Mr. Henry asked us a question. We couldn't answer it ourselves. We went to our city solicitor, and the city solicitor is saying, here's what I ask you to do. for the answer, and he's giving the letter in one of the answers. It's the only thing I'm doing here. I'm not suggesting a moment that I agree with what the letter says or anything like that. That's another decision to be made. But I just want the public to know the reason I made this motion is because I feel I have an obligation to the public to answer their questions. And this was a question asked of me, and I've given the answer. And the answer that I gave was asking our city solicitor to respond to his letter.
Thank you, Councillor Cody. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will move to a vote. Sorry, it's a long agenda. The vote is now open. And the vote carries. The next item on the agenda is 1120, Councillor Conflict of Interest, Council Response Options. What is the wish of council? Mayor Dion.
I move that the legal counsel be instructed to apply to the Court of Queen's Bench pursuant to Section 121, bracket 2, bracket B of the Cities Act to have determined or declare whether Councillor Lennox Epp or Councillor Turner Head or either of them have ceased to be qualified to remain a member of City Council as a result of their participation in the matters before City and the Executive Committee involving the issues between the City of Prince Albert and the Canadian Union of Public Employees Locals and conservative section of 117, 171, and 172 of the Cities Act. And if I get a seconder, I'd like to speak on it.
And you meant King's Bench,
Oh, what did I say?
Queens.
Oh, God. After 70 years, it's hard to forget her.
Thank you very much.
You're
Just wanting to ensure that. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. I'll second that for discussion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mayor Dion.
If you don't
Oh,
mind.
Mayor Dion, please rise.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you mind if I sit? It's
Oh.
starting to bother me,
Sorry,
going up and down.
go ahead.
Thank you. And I'll explain it later on your
Yeah,
thing.
no worries.
Okay, I just have four or five points I'd like to read, okay? And the first one is, we didn't put ourselves in this position. It became upon us. Council received an official correspondence from a member of the public outlining the concerns of the conduct of two councillors during QP 882 strike. The concern arose from our spousal and employment relationship with QP and advised active participation in matters concerning QP's locals that become to Council and Executive Committee. Council has the responsibility to protect the integrity of the governance procedures and the public confidence in the procedure. The legal responsibility of councillors owed to the public as councillors. The responsibility has come before personal relationships. It has been put ahead of personal relationships with our families, ahead of our relationships with our employer. It has come ahead of our relationships of each colleague of council. Elected officials refer to this matter as a conflict legal opinion. The local opinion determined the two city councillors have themselves been declared conflict of interest in the QP matters and should have excused themselves in participating in instruction. There, unfortunately, two occasions where councillors apparently have not followed the legislation. A member of council cannot serve two masters. When a conflict exists, they must excuse themselves from the discussion making and having any potential of influence the decision or discussion. Council has the legal obligation and ethical responsibility to ensure that governance policies and councillors follow the oath of office is upheld. In order to protect the integrity of council in the process, the public confidence in council, we are requesting that the courts review the facts and determine what needs to be our next step in legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Edwards.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This is very difficult. This is something that I never thought we would have to see in my day on council. It's been 7 years now. And listening to the mayor, he's right in that council didn't put us in this situation. And I think one of the main reasons that I supported the legal opinion that we got from an external source was to say, listen, here's a legal opinion. This is what it says now. What are we going to do about it? Are you going to withdraw from conversations? And I think we saw Councillor Head withdraw from voting on the agreement with CUPE, with 882. So he did withdraw. He took the legal advice, which I thought was important. And unfortunately, Councillor Lennox-Zepp chose to participate because she, I guess, didn't agree with the legal opinion. So do we know that the two councillors, and I think these are separate issues. I do wish we could split them one way or the other because I think they are separate. And I don't know whether we can split them just for separate determinations. And I mean, they're going to have separate results regardless. They're going to talk individually. I get that. But I forget where I was going with that. So do we have anything that says to us, no, they don't agree that they're in conflict of interest? Do we know from these two councillors that there is, well, we don't agree. We're not in conflict of interest?
Who is your question directed to?
I guess to whoever can answer that. City solicitor, maybe?
Would be city solicitor. Go ahead, city solicitor.
Thank you for the question. Councillor, and through Deputy Mayor, we have received a legal letter from legal counsel for Councillor Lennox-Zepp indicating that the position that he's articulating on behalf of her is that she was not in conflict of interest.
Okay. So disagreeing with the fact, with the information that they are in conflict of interest. So we're left in a tough position then, is instead of, which I think, I mean, I can't speak for everybody in the room, but I know that if I was told I'm in conflict of interest from a legal standpoint, I would choose from here on in to withdraw all of these discussions that I was pointed to. I would choose that. And I don't know whether they have chosen that. Obviously, one with the letter says, like, do the two councillors plan to remove themselves from CUPE discussions? And I'm assuming that this isn't going to stop at maybe just the agreements, the contract agreements. You did mention here, and the report talks about kind of CUPE relations. So do we have some information that they're planning to withdraw?
And that's again to the solicitor?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Go ahead,
Or whoever
solicitor.
can answer that question.
Yes, thank you, Councillor, for the question, and through the Deputy Mayor. I understand that the City Clerk has communicated with both councillors and have asked the question, but with respect to collective bargaining only, and we have indication, as I understand it, and perhaps the City Clerk can correct me if I've got this exactly right, but my understanding is that Councillor Lennox-Zepp has indicated that in future she will remove herself from collective bargaining matters dealing with CUPE. And I believe she has indicated that she would also, as has been her practice in the past, excused herself from other non-collective bargaining agreement issues involving the city CUPE unions. With respect to Councillor Head, I believe that the question as asked was only with respect to collective bargaining, and he has indicated that he will in future excuse himself and declare a conflict with respect to collective bargaining matters involving CUPE local unions of the city.
So she's going to choose to withdraw from bargaining or from discussions around bargaining.
Yeah, going forward, that has been the indication, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I believe 100% that there needs to be that line drawn somewhere. And I don't think it needs to be in the sand because the sand can be dissolved in water somewhere. I think it needs to be in cement. Here it is. This is where the conflict of interest occurs, especially within labor. It's very critical. I mean, impacting negotiations is so critical. Is there a way to move forward with that? We got to draw this. Like a determination needs to be done by a judge. I get it, because a legal opinion doesn't count, because if you don't agree with it, you can choose. And that's not right either. And that's the position that we're in right now. So is there a way, and this is my concern, is, I mean, I'm not a headhunter here for sure. I don't necessarily want to see anybody off of council. I know that this is a legislated act that we have to follow, and there's rules behind it, but is there a way in this act that says, listen, the judge can make this determination, you are in a conflict of interest, without making recommendations to remove them from the seat?
Go ahead.
Thank you for the question, Councillor, through you, Deputy Mayor. If the matter, I think the question assumes that the motion, if passed, which then refers the issues to a court for a judge to determine, whether there has been conduct that contravenes the conflict of interest standards of conduct for councillors in the Cities Act, and B, whether that conduct disqualifies the councillor, and C, what the implication of the disqualification and the conduct is if those first two things are found by the court to exist. Those are the three issues, and certainly the position that could be taken by a representative of the City of Prince Albert in that court proceeding could be to look for clarification of the requirements surrounding persons with spousal and employment relationships with CUPE in all matters, and could look to put to the court that the City Council is not looking to have the councillors disqualified. Ultimately, though, the answer to all those three questions, once it's put to the court, will be left with the judge, and the judge will determine the severity of it. All we can do then is sort of articulate positions which could be persuasive to the judge. Obviously, on the other side, if there's legal representation, those submissions of counsel would be put to the judge and may be persuasive as well. But you could take a position, I think if I understand your question correctly, could take a position that we ask the court to clarify the rules with respect to participation on CUPE matters, and could convey to the court that the council is not interested in having any permanent disqualification of the councillors. But it would be up to the judge.
It would be up to the judge. So we could put that information that says, you know, not maybe all council want that total determination, or maybe some or all or none. That's so how do we vote on that? Whether we alter this motion that says, you know what, just determine whether they were in conflict of interest. Suggest, make some recommendations on what you see. Although I don't know whether the judge is mandated to determine the sanctions. We can only give information to the judge. I think I just heard you say this. We can only say, listen, council isn't totally sure they want to see, you know, removal of, from their chairs. And I'm one of those people right now. I don't necessarily want to see them removed from the chair, but I want a line drawn because it's very uncomfortable when you have members of the public come to you, and I've had this, say, how can two councillors that have some connection to CUPE, and there is the understanding or perception of a conflict of interest. I've had members, how can they participate in these discussions, in particular for collective bargaining and any other information that we may deal with? It puts us in a difficult situation because we're not supposed to, you know, rule on this, or it's not our obligation to call them out on a conflict of interest, right? So I guess this is how we're here. But I'm a person of second chances. Yeah, that's pretty clear where I work. It's just, if you've made a mistake, correct that mistake. And to me, again, the legal opinion, we saw the legal opinion. If I would have saw that, I would be done with any kind of conversations with regards to anything CUPE related. I would be. That would be where I would sit. I know that. I didn't have anything prepared for this meeting because, my goodness, this is such a difficult item. I didn't prepare anything. And I'm kind of rambling here, but it's such a difficult position that we've been put in. And we, again, the mayor said it earlier, we didn't put us in this situation. So I hope from what I've said today that you can take, and I guess we don't need a motion on this, but some of the information that you can take to a judge is not all council necessarily want to see a removal from their chair. I do want to see that line drawn in the cement. Here it is. This is a conflict. If you participate, again, it is a conflict or not, whatever they determine or not. So that's from me. That's how I feel about all this situation. And thanks for listening to me ramble.
Thank you very much, Councillor Edwards. Mayor Dion.
I just want to follow up a little on Councillor Edwards, because we are in a tough position. But you got to remember how we got here. Number one, we got a letter from a resident. It wasn't any of us that started it, okay? And what's disappointing for me is at the last meeting when we voted and they decided they were going to vote, I warned them. I got up in the chair and said, you're well aware that we have a legal position that says you're in a conflict of interest, and I ask you not to vote. And they turned me down. You know, one turned me down, you know? And so that's how we got here. It wasn't sparked by us, it was sparked by a resident. And we have to respond to residents. And our integrity and trust is all we have. As politicians, you shouldn't even use those two words because they don't believe you have either one of them. But we have to work hard to get to that position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Cody.
Yes, Madam Chair. As Councillor Edwards said, this is a very, very difficult situation. We sit here day after day with our colleagues, and now we're saying, well, we don't want to sit with you any longer. That's not exactly what we're trying to do here. I don't think any of us in this assembly or anyone in this administration wants those two members left from this assembly. I think that's the last thing that we want. That's the last thing we want. Do we want to have them get a little slap on the hand for something they may have done inadvertently or by mistake? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I think we need to do that. But what I have the biggest rub with here is really Section 121(2) of the Cities Act. Really, if you read that very carefully, it basically says that the Act have determined or declared whether Councillor Connick or Councillor Head or either of them have ceased to be qualified to remain a member of City Council as a result of their participation. That's a little harsh. I think if you wouldn't have put that in there, I might have said, yes, this isn't a bad motion. Not a bad motion at all. But you know, that's a bit harsh. when they say, that's it. Look at those things only. That's what the Cities Act says. It doesn't say other stuff. Now, I'm sure that a judge isn't going to be silly enough to say, well, that's not the only two things I'm thinking of. I'm sure they're going to look at other things and say things like, well, maybe we should say that you can do this or you can't do that, or whatever the case may be. But that's why I have trouble with the resolution. I think that the resolution is a bit on the harsh side, and I'm really torn between not doing something and doing nothing. I think if we do nothing, it's wrong because the member that we received the letter from asked us to do something. And we, I think, have an obligation as citizens who are elected here to do our job. And our job is to answer to people's wishes. The wishes of that council were that something get be done. So we're going to do that. But what is it we do? That's another question. I'm really reluctant in many respects to vote for this, but I'm also reluctant in many respects not to vote for it, because there's got to be something done. But what is it we should do? I guess we have to allow a judge to do this. I know very outset when we spoke about this some period of time ago, and all this conflict was coming up, we said, you know, this council can take this and adjudicate it. We can do that. But it was going to take us a couple of days and witnesses and all that. And, you know, none of us have that kind of time, and maybe none of us have that expertise either. So we said, let's go to some independent body. Our city solicitor, I think, made the suggestion, or the mayor or whoever. Let's go to a judge. There isn't anybody more independent than that. So that's why we went this route. And this route is the only route I think we could have gone to. But now we sit on the horns of a dilemma with an act that says, well, here's really what we think you should do. And that isn't, I don't think, what we want to do. So here we sit, but at the same time, something needs to be done. What it is we need to be done, I'm not exactly sure. I would hope and pray that the good judge would say, look, something's going to be done to you, but we're not going to go as harsh as to say, you're no longer a member.
Thank you, Councillor Cody. Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I know that both councillors have good hearts and good intentions, and they represent the city well. They represent their wards well. And they obviously feel they have both followed the law. Neither one has decided or to publicly say that I was in conflict of interest. So in their hearts and in their minds, they are good people with good intentions that truly believe they are right as well. Conflict of interest laws exist for a reason, or I guess for a few different reasons, but most importantly to me is to maintain public confidence in the decisions that are made in this chamber. As the newest member, I haven't been sitting here very long, but it was important to me that when I put my name forward, that whatever happened in this chamber, it was of utmost importance that I maintain the positive relationships with my colleagues in this chamber and with the public as much as I possibly can. And that was very, very important to me. We know that we make those decisions, or make decisions in this chamber at all times, and we know we have to maintain the integrity of this chamber. And I know that if my participation in any discussion was going to taint that decision, I know that I would withdraw. That would be something that I would have to do. So in some cases, a member's presence in the chamber or a presence or them choosing not to be in the chamber is just as important to the decision as whether they voted for it. So I'll just carry on. The taxpayer who raised the issue is not alone. I've had many people come to me and talk to me. And this issue, no matter which side of it you're on, is divisive. We've got people that are pro something being done, and we have some people that are saying nothing inappropriate happened. And so that's really a distraction to the work that we're trying to do as a city to make the city the best place that it can be for all of our residents and where we live and the surrounding areas. So it's unfortunate this is where we are today, and I know my colleagues have suggested that as well. So as a councillor, I'm responsible for my actions, and as are they. So did they make a mistake? Possibly. However, I'm not a legal expert. When I interpret the act and I look at the consequences, I also agree our options aren't good. You know, the 6 options, whether they resign, it's referred to the court by the voters. We could declare them their chairs vacant. We could refer it to the court, which is the one we're talking about. We could take no action, which I don't think is appropriate. I think the public is expecting something from this. And of course, we could commit to a standard for future enforcement, which may become out of this anyway. So realistically, I do think that it has to be referred. I'm also not in favor of removing either of my colleagues. However, that's not my decision to make once it goes to the court, and that's the unfortunate part, is we do have to have some clear guidelines for the public to maintain the integrity of this chamber. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'd like to start off as well as saying that we're in a difficult situation here, and I've been here a long time and I haven't seen this before, but here's my first time. And you know, I look around the room and I have trust that everybody is doing the right thing, and I do trust that they did the right thing for themselves. And here we are with 2 different legal opinions as well, and they're both conflicting, and so that's why I agree that we need to go to the judge and he can make that determination of what he thinks he sees with the Cities Act and other things that he might. But I really find it interesting that only one person written us a letter, and I never had anybody phone me about this situation at all. And I did receive a couple of emails from the public just the last couple of days here, and read them, but I just find this very difficult situation. And so when we do a conflict of interest, I do believe that we do the best thing that we do for ourselves, because we're only responsible for ourselves. And yeah, some people get mad because we do one and because we don't know why or whatever, but people have to understand that there's more to all of this than you know, and I'm just counting on the judge to do the right thing.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Councillor Edwards.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to speak one more time, and I'll be very
Go ahead.
brief. In the, Councillor Cody alluded to it, the section 121.2 statement of this. Is that the critical aspect of this motion? Is that something that has to be included in this motion in order to refer to a judge?
Is your question to the city solicitor?
Yes, sure, we'll go to that, yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Solicitor.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. That is the language of the section. The earlier section speaks to what is the consequence of conduct that falls within certain categories. The consequence of a violation of Section 117, which is the failure to declare a conflict and the failure to remove yourselves from the debate or the discussion, or to try to influence the outcome. The consequence of that is a quotation disqualification from office. And that leads to the requirement under Section 120 to either resign or for voter challenge, or for council to take action, or through these different 6 options that Councillor Solomon alluded to, you could go all the way in the range to do nothing as well. But the disqualification is necessary language. That's the language of the section. It sounds harsh, but I think that it's intended to actually put teeth in the standard of conduct that is required. Now, saying that, the judge has a full range of options in the event that the matter does go to court. The judge can confirm that the parties are disqualified. can actually set aside the matter, the disqualification motion, can dismiss the application. The judge can also find that even if there is a disqualification, that the disqualification arose through inadvertence or by reason of an honest mistake. So the judge has a very broad range of outcomes that the judge can consider if the matter goes before the court.
Thank you, that helps me.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll move to the vote. The vote is now open. And the motion carries. Next item on the agenda, unfinished business. Oh, we'll just wait, sorry.